It's not that you have a diagnosis, it's that you have a disability. You have something, that diagnosis is causing you to not be able to do something. Okay? And that something tends to be around your job, mostly around your job, socially, with your family, with your friends, and and so on. All right, what's going on, everybody? I am David Davis, owner and founder of All Veteran Disability Claims, and I want to just welcome you to just your journey in taking these steps in getting the disability rating that you deserve. I know it's not always easy. If you are here, you're either found out that this is not a simple task that you were taught while you were in the military, or even, really talked about. There's a lot of us that got out the military and we didn't go to the clinic a whole lot or the doctor's office. And we just don't have a lot of stuff in our records. If we had issues going on, we just pressed on, right? So if you are here, you fit into a few different categories. You could be a veteran that just got out the military and you want to make sure that you file your VA disability claim the right way. You can be a veteran that got out the military 20, 30 years ago and you failed a few different times and you're wanting to get this thing right. Or you could be a veteran that got out the military many years ago and you never filed a VA disability claim. You don't even know where to start with this, right? We're all coming from different walks in this arena, in this process, right? I started my process back in 2006 when I got out the military, and I quickly realized and was humbled by the fact that I didn't know anything about this process. First off, we really didn't talk about a whole lot of it when we were in the military. And then there was a fear that was there because you didn't want to jeopardize your security clearance. You didn't want to jeopardize your job. You didn't know what the ins and outs were. And there wasn't a whole lot of information. We didn't even have YouTube back then, right? So we're coming into a time right now to where we have an abundance of information and it's out there, but there's so much of it, we still don't know where to start. It was a time frame of just failing. It was failing and then more failing until it got to the point to where I had to win. I had to, right? Because I have 5 children. I'm married for 22 years, and my wife is also a veteran, but we didn't know anything about what was needed. We didn't know how we were going to really take care of our family the way we needed to. And we were just living, right? We both got out of the military in the same month, the staff sergeants in the military at that time. And so I had a guaranteed job. She had a guaranteed job, and it was great, right? So we thought, but what we found out quickly is that life is real. Life outside of the military is even more real, right? You don't have anything to fall back on, right? You didn't have a guaranteed paycheck, so life started happening, right? I had my job and I realized that I didn't make as much money as I thought I was going to make. She had her job, but it was a contract position and it ended within the very first year that she got out the military. So, and she was pregnant, right, with our second child, right? So we had these things going on. So I couldn't change positions. Right? I still needed to go to school. We have our second child on the way. The job ended when she was 6 months pregnant. So that job ended, and it turned out that, it would be better for her not to go to work because of how much it was going to cost for us to pay for daycare, right? So life just kept on happening for us. And it came to the point to where we had to make some hard decisions. I had multiple jobs. I talk about this in other videos that I've done. I've had multiple jobs. I went back into the reserves only because I wanted to be back around the military atmosphere and get the training and different things like that. But I also enjoyed the camaraderie, but I also needed some more money, right? I needed something that was going to keep on giving me a little bit more money. And that little bit, a couple $100s a month that I was going to get was better than not having that couple $100s a month. And then I had another job. I worked as a bellhop. I worked as a pizza delivery person. I worked at Lowe's, wherever I could find a position, I was working there. All right. And it's because I had 2 children. This was just getting out the military, had 2 children. And After we had our second child, we had our third, and then we had our fourth, and then we had our fifth, and life was still happening. So for me, this became something that was urgent. It was urgent, right? Because even me working the multiple jobs, even though I was willing to do it, it was taken away from my family and causing stress and strife and everything else. So, like I said, I don't know where you're coming from in this process. That's where I was coming from. Good news for you is I learned a lot of the mistakes that I don't want you to make. I failed as many times as many of you that are out there, and I'm successful right now, right? Not only successful with my own VA disability claim, but I've helped thousands of other veterans through this process. And I want you to be one of those veterans also, right? So just to get started, right? The whole thing of this program is to be able to walk you from start to finish, right? Wherever you are, you can look at this program. You can get some valuable information from here, whether it be what types of claims to file, how to start, how to get logged into va.gov, how to create a good strategy for your own claim, what to send in with your claim versus what not to send in. What are some good and strong VA disability claims to file for? What's the trend going on right now? Right? This is a good time for many veterans. There's some big changes that are taking place with the VA. I know that there have been some stressful points when it comes with the VA, but they're trying to make things better. I will say they started probably with the website, where the website is getting better. It's, not as confusing as it was. We had an e-benefits website and we had a va.gov website, and you can get some information from e-benefits and get the other information from va.gov. Well, they're starting to make sure all that's combined, as well as creating the apps associated with it. So there's lots of good, valuable resource that's out there. So that's where you need to start, right? But when it comes to this claim process, not only do I want to give you the information and give you the power to be able to go out and do this on your own, I want to make sure that you're coming in with the right mindset. Because, just like I said, I went through a lot of failure when I was going through this. And I don't want you to have to do the same things that I did. But some of us have already started that process of going through the failure and feeling what it feels like to not be validated when it comes to your VA disability claim. I don't know about everybody, and I won't say that everyone is upstanding in this situation, but I'm an honest person, right? I'm not a liar. And when you are told that you're lying, or you feel like someone's thinking that you're lying, then it causes more grief than anything, right? You're going through the service, after going through the injuries, after going through even making the decision that many people haven't made. As a matter of fact, 99% of the people in this country haven't made, and only 1% did, and that was to serve your country. You get told that, oh no, that didn't happen. That's not service connected and not valid. That's whatever. And you're trying to prove what you went through and what you're feeling to someone that wasn't there, right? And it's discouraging, right? But I will tell you that don't stay there. You don't have to stay there. And to truly come out of that mindset, you want to just take ownership of your entire claim, right? Take ownership of your claim. Believe me, it's going to help you out in the long run. I was in a dark place for a long time, to where I was thinking, man, they're out to get me. They don't care about me. they're just putting people out there that are not going to take care of you. And the government doesn't care and all this stuff like that. And I'm with naysayers that are out there talking about how bad the VA is. Don't say that every aspect of the VA is great, or that, not every individual that is doing your claim or working your claim are the best people in the job. But I will say that probably majority of them are. And they're just overworked and underpaid. And especially if you're going to a VSO and all these different things. And there's a lot of stuff that goes in with that. But, not giving them any excuses. More so, I'm telling you that, hey, if you take control of your claim, if you take responsibility for your claim, it's going to take you much further than you blaming someone else. Let me explain that for a second. If I go to a compensation and pension exam, and the evaluator, or the examiner, the doctor that's seeing me, if I feel like they don't care and they're not taking care of me and they're not doing this, they're not doing that, I can't do anything about it. right? I'm just a victim, right? And I'm being victimized by this person, and I can't change them. I can tell on them and be upset with them, but I can't change them. If the rater gets the information that's making the decision on your claim doesn't care about you, they're just trying to get you off their desk, and they're just putting denied and stamping denied, not service connected on all your stuff. If it's them and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, then you can't do anything about it, but possibly get upset and tell on them and call the White House line and all that stuff like that. But in reality, if I can say, let me back up for a second. If I can gain more information, more understanding of this process, then I could probably win my claim, right? If I take control of my claim, if I don't blame someone else and I put it all on myself, I can change me all day. I can gain more understanding and more knowledge in everything, but I cannot force someone else to do their job better. I can put more information in me and make sure that they are doing their job the right way. And yeah, I can probably fight a little bit better if they weren't doing their job the right way. But in reality, if I know that I don't know anything about this stuff, that I need to get some more information about it, and if I get that information, now I'm armed with the tools that I need to be successful, then okay, I've all right. For me, like I said, I've gone through that process of not having the rating I deserved and not being service connected, and now I am 100% permanent and total service connected. Right. So if it was on the rater, maybe. If it was on the examiner, maybe. I know it was 100, we'll say 99% on me, because I have the information now and I am successful now. Right. I didn't have the information then. So if you can put that together, then, and I'm probably not saying this in the best way, but if you could put that together, then you can understand that, okay, you can go further with more information. Right? You don't want to do this on your own. If you are going to a VSO or an accredited agent or whatever, you don't want to do this on your own. Get some insight, look at YouTube. There's lots of videos out there. Unfortunately, there's also a lot of bad videos out there. Get your information where you can, right? So that's my soapbox. So I want to start where you are, right? And it doesn't matter if you are very successful and you've done this many different times. I want to talk to you about what a disability is, because many people do not know what a disability is. Many people have 90% and they can't figure out why they're not getting service connected for sleep apnea or this apnea or whatever the situation is. And it comes down to you not understanding what a disability is, right? Or it comes down to you not understanding where the compensation is coming from, right? So if you understand what compensation is, or what your VA disability rating compensation is, and you understand what disability is, or defined disability, then you can understand how you actually get your VA disability rating, right? So starting with disability. Disability is something that causes you to not be able to do something, right? You cannot perform a certain activity. You cannot mentally think through a certain situation. You cannot remember certain things. You cannot do a job the right way. You cannot perform with your family or friends and different things the way you used to because of whatever injury that you have. All right. It's not that you have a diagnosis for an injury or a diagnosis for a back problem or a diagnosis for even migraines or whatever the situation, PTSD, right? It's not that you have a diagnosis, it's that you have a disability. You have something, that diagnosis is causing you to not be able to do something. Okay. And that something tends to be around your job, mostly around your job, socially, with your family, with your friends, and so on, right? And we'll get deeper into that as we go through the lessons. But anyway, all right, so disability is stopping you from being able to do something. What is compensation? Well, compensation is almost like workman's comp, right? If you know anything about workman's comp, it's about the job. You can't do the job because of this, or you got injured on the job, so you can't do this, right? Workman's comp, it doesn't, if you were at work and you got in a vehicle accident because you were driving your work vehicle and someone ran into you, then, and your fault and all that stuff like that, and you likely could get workman's compensation because you're at work. If you were on your way to work and you get in a vehicle accident or something like that, you're not going to get workman's compensation. That makes sense. The benefit is for veterans, when you're active duty anyway, because there's different things when it comes to reservists. When you're an active duty military veteran, you're considered to always be at work. That's why they can tell you what to do no matter what time of the day it is. Bottom line. All right. So stability, compensation, understand those two things and you'll be fine as you're going through this process. Right. So I understand the frustrations. There's frustration when it comes to trying to get through this process and what to file, how to file it, what form to use, all these different things like that. We're going to get into all of that. So there's many of you that are recognize the system as being complicated. There's many of you that have had trouble with VSOs and different people that are working for the system or whatever, or you don't understand the paperwork that they're sending you or whatever the situation is. There's lots of frustration. There's lots of reasons to be frustrated out there. What I'm asking you to do is to find a reason not to be frustrated, because if you're frustrated, it's going to be harder for you to work through this process. Okay. If you're looking at this, it's like, okay, we're starting at ground zero. Let's go. And I'm sorry for all of y'all that are brand new to this process, but you're in a good boat. If you're coming in here and like I said, you're like me and you've gone through the failures and stuff and so much time has gone by, 15 years for me, and a lot of financial heartache for me. All right. And you have the frustration, right? Desire is for this to be easy, right? The desire is for process to be smooth and that for someone to walk us through every single step of the way. That's going to be the case in a lot of ways, and it's also not going to be the case in others. So when I'm walking you through this, I'm showing you how to do it the right way, right? I can't do it for you in that sense. A VSO can do it for you, but a VSO is also not going to, typically not going to do the things that I need to do because they have to see their next client, right? When you're walking through this thing, once you learn it, right? My desire is not only that you learn this process for yourself and that you get the financial increase and that you are able to take more than anything, that you have the rating that you are supposed to have, right? If it's 10%, if it's 0%, if it's 100%, it makes me know, never mind. It means the whole thing is that you have the rating that you're supposed to have and that you know that that's the rating that you're supposed to have, right? So some of this, you're going to have to face your fears and just take the leap. You can't mess anything up. If you have a certain claim and you have a high rating for that claim, I'm going to show you how to find out what the actual rating structure is for the individual claims that you're looking for. And it's simple, right? You just don't know where to look for it. And there's all of this information is out there. When you're looking at the how to determine, what VA disability rating you have and all that stuff like that, or what the VA is looking for. If you're looking at 38 CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, Part 4, that's going to spell out the different rating structures for each different claim that they are actually accepting. All right. So again, I'm glad you're here. I'm going to stop right there, right? Because I do want you to, this is going to be an enlightening type situation to where, you're able to walk through this and you'll be able to revisit all these different videos together. But please don't just skip through this introduction. This is right here. When it comes to your mindset, that is going to be important, right? So let's go ahead and get started. I'm happy for you. Thank you for joining us. And, again, even as you're going through this, if you find yourself still needing some more assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out to me and my crew, and we can help you walk through this process together, right? But let's go ahead and get started. All right, so welcome back. All right, again, David Davis, and welcome back. We're on day one, all right? So day one. So before we dive into the details, let's talk about mindset again, right? Having the right mindset is like putting on a suit of armor. It makes you stronger and more prepared for what's ahead. You're stronger and more prepared for what's ahead. Sometimes you might feel like the VA isn't on your side, especially if you've had claims denied before. It's easy to get upset and feel like giving up. But here's a secret. You have more control now. You have more control than you think. Think of it this way. If something went wrong and it was the VA's fault, there's not enough you can do. There's nothing you can do about that. If something went wrong and it was the VA's fault, there's not much you can do about that. But if your claim wasn't successful because something was missing or unclear, that's something you can fix, right? By arming yourself with knowledge and understanding of what's needed, we can make a big difference in your claim. So key to this day is take control, right? What you want to do is be able to gather all of your evidence. Don't just gather it and put it in a big stack and send it all someplace. I want you to gather it and I want you to read it, right? So if you have military medical records, read your military medical records, right? Starting with whatever they have diagnosed you with. There's normally a problem list inside of your records that will state everything that you had a problem with. You had bad back, you had a back issue, you had knee issue. It's going to say whether it's chronic or not chronic, right? Look at your military medical records. It's going to be a wealth of information, but don't just look at it and say, okay, I got 200 pages of military medical records. I'm going to send all that to the VA. No, don't do that. I want you to pull out the forms and the pieces of paper that are most important to the claim that you're filing now, right? And you don't know which claim you're filing now. Right now, you're just finding out what you have in there, right? Because most of us don't even know, right? If you've been in the military for 20 years and you've been out for 10, there's lots of things that might be in there that you've never even looked at before, right? So that's the first step. Look at your medical records. So look at your military service records. Find out what orders you have in there. Find out even what write-ups you have, right? These things are going to be important to your claim later on, and I'll show you how. Look at whatever medals that you might have, combat service medals and whatnot, or whatever write-ups that you might have for any kind of citations, right? So bring all of that to the forefront so that you can see that as being evidence and not just your records from the military, all right? It could be evidence for your claim, right? So gather all that information up, and what you're going to be able to do with that information is you're going to want to upload that to your computer so that when you do file your claim, you just have it in your computer. You can pull from it anytime you need to. If you do need to get a Nexus letter, which we'll talk about later on, then you can go in and you can send them certain information that you need to send them, right? So you need to have an understanding of how the VA looks at your claim, all right? So when you're looking at your claim, a VA disability claim, there's three things that are absolutely needed in order to prove that you are service connected, right? Service connected for a disability. That's basically the VA saying, okay, we're recognizing that this was caused by the military and we're going to pay compensation based off of the severity of it, right? So you're service connected, right? You can be service connected from 0% all the way up to 100%. So that you prove service connection is that you have an in-service event or aggravation, you have a current diagnosis, and you have a nexus or a connection between your current diagnosis and your in-service event. And what a nexus is a medical professional coming in and saying that this diagnosis that you have now is connected to your military career, and this is how. Basically, based off a case study, based off of your job description or whatever the situation is, right? So that is someone coming in and saying this thing, right? Other ways to prove it, first off, is that some conditions can be presumptive to your job that you had in the military. So like for myself, I was a firefighter on active duty, and one of the presumptive conditions for me was tinnitus, because I was often around loud noises. We worked on the flight line, we worked on fire trucks, we had the sirens, we used different things. For many others, another presumptive condition could be the burn pits, right? Any kind of type of respiratory type condition that you can get from being around burn pits that came through in the PACT Act and whatnot, is associated based off of where you were located in your deployments, or whether it be in the water, flying over, or actually on land in those Middle East type locations. So a lot of those are presumptive. So I just brought out a new word, presumptive, right? Presumptive condition means that it is associated with the military. Means that you don't have to prove that it was associated with the military based off of where you were located. It's basically them saying that, okay, based off of where you were located in your deployment or based off your career field, then we're going to presume that whatever diagnosis you have was associated with the military, right? Doesn't matter what happened after you got out the military. They're saying that, okay, based off of this and your location, it was associated with the military. Okay. That's just a simple definition, right? That does not mean that you're going to automatically get a rating. That does not mean that they're automatically going to approve you and not have to go to a CMP exam. What it does mean is that you have one of those pillars when it comes to the three things you need, where it's caused by or aggravated by the military. That's what it is, caused by or aggravated by the military. But you still need the nexus. You still need, well, not necessarily nexus. You still need the current diagnosis, right? If I'm filing for, let's say, I'm filing for a respiratory condition because of being around the burn pits based off of a presumptive condition, but I don't have a diagnosis and I still don't have a rating per se. Now, that's still being kind of shallow because the actual examiner could rate you or could diagnose you based off of your symptoms. But most of the time, if you don't have a diagnosis, then that's where that situation comes in, right? What's next is that you have the current diagnosis. If you have a current diagnosis and you have a presumptive situation going on and it started at the right time, all those different things like that, then okay, now you have a connection. You have some sort of a connection. Now, the only thing that you're having to show is your severity of your symptoms, right? If you have a diagnosis and you have a presumptive condition or you have a way of proving that it was caused by the military, now what is the severity of your symptoms? That's where the disability rating comes in. If your symptoms aren't severe or don't rise to a level of compensation, then you could have a service connection with a 0% rating. That happens often, right? I can have hearing loss based off of my ear, but it might not rise to the level of compensation. I can still hear, but I don't, I can hear well enough to where, you know, I don't need extra compensation for it. I just have to listen a little bit closer. You know, again, that's a short way of explaining that situation. But anyway, understand what's needed when it comes to your claim. And like I said, we're going to get in deeper into all of these things, but you need to label all of your stuff, keep everything organized as much as possible. Or I had a file on my desktop that was called VA Disability Claims, and I might even title it inside of that same file with the year that I'm filing this claim or what the decision letter was and all these different things. So it made it so that, okay, I had all of this information that was set aside and I could go back to it when I need it. It was online, but that wasn't always a viable source of information when back in the day, right? We weren't sure when this website was going to be down or whatever the situation was. So stay organized, right? Ask questions. If you do not know certain things, don't just go on and just do whatever. Questions. Be okay with asking questions. Like I said already, stay positive, learn from my past, you know, or learn from your own past and get more information, right? So take ownership. Your journey. Remember, this game is your journey. By taking control and being prepared, you're setting yourself up for the best chance of success. In this next chapter, we'll dive deeper into the different types of claims and the step-by-step process of filing. But for now, get yourself a pat on the back for even making it this far, right? You've taken the first steps. You are taking control of your claim. You've recognized that, okay, I need to do something, and you're doing it, right? That's awesome. So let's keep on pressing, all right? Next up, we're going to talk about understanding different types of claims.